Okay, splainer video number 1, the ham bands. We'll start here. What are these bands we talk about? Okay, this radio has got 10 bands on it. Actually, you can see the buttons here. 1.8, 3.5, 7, 10, 14, 18, 21, 24, 28, and 50. Those are different bands. What the numbers on here are is a frequency in megahertz. So, for example, 21 is 21 megahertz. But it's confusing. So we hams talk in terms of frequency, which is what these numbers represent. But then you'll hear people talk about a band. So what is a band? A band is just a range of frequencies that are fairly similar. Let's use an easy example. We'll use the 10 megahertz band. The speed of light, going to do some math now. Yes, there's going to be math. If I can get the pen open. The speed of light goes 300 million meters per second. So to figure out how long our 10 megahertz wave is, so we're going to figure out the wavelength, and that's literally, you're figuring out the wave is like, it's like that, going through the air. It's a big old wave, and then of course there's signal on there, a voice or Morse code beeps. But how long is that wave, depending on which band we're on? Because we name the bands after the wavelength. Okay, this will come clear in a second, hopefully. So for our example, let's take our 300 million meter per second speed of light, and we'll divide that by 10 million, or 10 megahertz. So these are just hertz, 10 million hertz. So that is a cycle per second. So one of these, or 10 million of them, every second. So a hertz is cycle per second. So when we divide these two, the seconds are going to go away, and we're going to end up with meters per cycle. How long is the wave? How many in meters? How long is the wave? So all the zeros cancel out, right? Because get rid of the millions. So we're basically taking 300 divided by 10, and guess what? That is the 30 meter band. That's the easy one. And sometimes they're not exact, but you're basically taking 300 divided by the frequency in megahertz, and that'll give you the wavelength. So a wave of that thing is about 30 meters, or about 100 feet. So if you could see it, one wave would go about the length of the yard, about 100 feet. Okay, so we've got all these bands. I got this one turned on. This one's got even more bands on it. This one has got 12 bands on it, and there are more. But they start down here. Well, they don't even start. There's actually one below, two bands below this, lower in frequency. But anyway, these are the main bands. So 1.8 megahertz, and then this goes up to, if I can dial it, takes forever to dial up, it goes up to 2.0. So 1.8 to 2.0. So say, in the middle is 1.9, or roughly dividing 300 divided by 2 gives you 150, right? 150 meters? Well, we call it the 160 meter band, because they're probably more dividing by 1.8. So that's the first band, 160 meters. And then we go up, and we now end this one that goes from 3.5 to 4. Here we're almost at 4 megahertz. 3.5 to 4 is about double the frequency of our 1.8 160 meter band. So the wavelength is going to now get cut in half. As frequency goes up, the wavelength gets shorter, because now we're dividing 300 by 3.5 or 4. Divide by 4, and you get 75 meters. And that is what the hams call it. At the top of the band, they call it 75 meters. If you go all the way down to 3.5, where they do Morse code, they call it 80 meters. So it's a little closer to 80. So that band has two names. So again, we went through on this radio, we did the 1.8, 160 meters, 3.5, 75, and 80 meters. And then the next one is 7. So this goes from 7.0 to 7.3. And that is the 40 meter band. Again, rough math, they were kind of rounded off. If you do the exact math, 300 divided by 7.2, probably not quite 40, but the 40 meter band. So you notice these are going up in even multiples. We have a 160, an 80 meter, a 40 meter. Then they got this one in the middle we just did, 30 meters. That's a new band. That's why it kind of jumps in the middle, because then you go to 14 megahertz. And if we do our math again, 300 divided by 14-ish is 20 meters. So our 40 meters got cut in half again. We got 20 meters. This band goes from 14.000 up to 14.350. So it's pretty big. And then we go up again. This is a new band again. This came in, it's been many, many years, but it was a newer band. It's not an even multiple. This one, the math is a little trickier. So if you take your 300 divided by 18, you get 17 meters. So keep that straight. 18 megahertz is 17 meters. So again, the wavelength, the wave of that thing is about 17 meters, or about 50 feet. Okay, next band up, 21 megahertz, goes from 21.000 to 21.450. Big band, big band. And again, if you roughly divide your 300 by 21, you get 15 meters. So that's that bandwidth. That's the 15 meter band. And then we go up again. This is another newer band. It's just short of 25 megahertz. It's 24. I gotta think of this one. This one this will throw me off. 24.890 to 24.990. It's a small band, small new band. Oh, 17 meters is also very small. This one is only from 18.068 to 18.168. It's only these digits down here are kilohertz, so it's 100 kilohertz wide. It's a very narrow band. Still a lot of room to play. Okay, so this band is the 12 meter band. So again, frequency is going up, wavelength is going down, getting smaller. So 12 meters, it's about 36, 40 feet long. And then 10 meters, this is where we were talking to the guy in Japan, talking to the guy in Russia. I already said it, 10 meters, it's roughly 300 divided by almost 30, gives us 10 meters. This is a huge band. It goes from 28.000 all the way up to 29.7. Interesting note about this band is just under it, just down about 27 megahertz and 26 megahertz, is the Citizens band. CB band is very similar to this, very similar neighborhood, behaves similarly. And then above this are a couple more bands on this radio, the 50 megahertz, 50 to 54 megahertz, the 6 meter band, excuse me. This is getting up higher, closer to what in the old days, what TV stations used to be on, VHF TV stations. We're still below FM radio here. We're still lower than FM radio, so that's 6 meters. 144 to 148, this band. This is the one we talk up to the space station on. 2 meters, so it's about 300 roughly divided by 2, or 150 equals 2. 2 meters, so literally this wave is about as tall as a person, a 6 foot tall person, roughly. And then the last one on this radio is 400 and, I don't know what the exact range on this one is, 400 and some megahertz. They call this the 70 centimeter band. So now we're less than a meter, right? So if we go to 300 divided by 400 and something, we get about 3/4. They call it 70 centimeters. So that's wavelength and frequency, and those are the bands. Again, the band just means the strip of frequencies that's about the same range of frequencies, and you call that a band. It doesn't really mean anything other than radios are set up to go band to band to band to band, because they're so broad, you couldn't cover them all at once. Okay. So I'll stop there. 10 minutes, that is the ham radio bands, and there are more again. They go up to the microwaves, and they go down even lower, under 160. There's a couple of low frequency bands, but these are sort of your main bands. Okay, I'm going to stop and see what you think of that.